My husband ambushed me in that dim restaurant, his voice slashing through the soft jazz as he snarled, "Turn around, Chloe," shattering my illusion of safety. I'd been sipping wine with Joe, a guy I swore was just a friend, when Alan's call pinned me, his calm, cutting tone unveiling him across the room, watching me with his lawyer. Then he unleashed the blow, a recording of Joe bragging about our nights, his crude, "She bounces like crazy," shredding my lies in front of them both. My heart slammed against my ribs, the cozy glow of the place twisting into a trap as Alan's eyes bored into me, unreadable cold. I dolled up for Joe, thinking no one would know, but there sat my husband, turning a quiet dinner into a public execution. Sweat beaded on my skin, my excuses crumbling under the weight of Joe's words echoing through that phone. It wasn't just shame. It was terror, raw and choking, as I realized he'd caught me red-handed. That moment didn't just expose me, it lit the fuse to blow our marriage apart, and I'd walk through the fire before it was done. Hey everyone, I'm 34, a flutist who thought I could play secrets like notes. Until my husband, Alan, turned a quiet dinner into the night that torched our life together. It started in a hidden restaurant, me flirting with Joe, a pianist I'd met at the conservatory, while Alan was supposedly at work. I'd spent years balancing music and marriage. Alan's steady job, my gigs, our little house with its creaky floors and shared dreams. We'd been solid once, laughing over late-night takeout, but lately, I'd craved more. Joe's charm, his easy grin, a thrill Alan's routine couldn't match. That night, I thought I'd covered my tracks, makeup perfect, story tight, no one to spot me in that dim corner. But Alan did. And he didn't just catch me. He gutted me with proof I couldn't dodge. Looking back, it's a slow bleed I didn't see coming. I justified Joe. Late rehearsals. Shared passions. Telling myself it wasn't betrayal, just a spark to feel alive. Alan's night shifts gave me space, and I took it, weaving lies like melodies. But that recording, Joe's smug voice spilling our dirt, it was a mirror I couldn't shatter. My husband didn't yell. He planned, waited, struck when it hurt most. That cozy spot became a stage, and I was the full center spotlight, my denials drowned out by truth I'd buried. I gambled our years for a fling, and Alan made sure I'd pay, not with tears, but with the cold, hard unraveling of everything I'd known. That night wasn't just a bust, it was the end of who I'd been, and I'd faced the wreckage head-on. The restaurant hummed with light jazz, its warm glow cloaking shadows where I sat by the window, wine glass trembling in my fingers. Joe leaned across the table, his grin loose and cocky, stirring a heat I hadn't felt in years. I'd picked this place. Tucked away, safe, thinking no one would know me here. My hair was pinned just right, lipstick flawless, a shield against prying eyes. Joe excused himself for the restroom, and I fixed a stray curl, nerves buzzing. Too long, maybe, but I brushed it off. Then my phone jolted me. Alan's name flashing, his voice steady but sharp. "Where are you?" he asked, and I laughed, catching up with conservatory friends. "Honey." My tone sugary, practiced. Silence stretched, then he cut through. "Turn around, Chloe." My breath snagged, heart hammering as I swiveled. There he was. Alan, slouched at a corner table, dim light carving his face into something hard. He waved slow, deliberate, a predator sizing me up. Next to him, a woman in a crisp suit. His lawyer, I'd learn. Watched with cool detachment. Sweat prickled my temples, the wine soured in my throat. "Alan, why are you here?" I whispered into the phone, voice cracking. "Change of plans," he said, calm as ice. Thought I'd grab a bite. Imagine my surprise seeing my wife cozy with some guy. My pulse raced, the room tilting as his words landed. A punch I couldn't block. I'd been caught, exposed in this stupid, perfect hideout, and the walls were closing in fast. Alan didn't blink, just waited. And I knew this was no accident. He'd come to bury me. I squared my shoulders, heels clicking as I crossed the restaurant to Alan's table, forcing a smile like armor. My heart thudded, but I wouldn't buckle. Not yet. "Well, hello there," I said, voice syrupy, nodding at the woman beside him. "Jessica, right?" She returned a curt nod, her gaze sharp, slicing through my bravado. I slid into a chair, facing Alan, his small, unreadable smirk stoking my nerves. "Honey, what's this?" I asked, light but pointed. "Dinner with a lawyer. Something bad happened you didn't tell me." He leaned back, eyes glinting. You could say I'm in a mess, Chloe. Embarrassing, really. Never thought I'd be here with my lawyer. His calm rattled me, but I pressed on, laughing softly. Sounds awful, honey. Jessica, imagine your husband spying on you, thinking dinner's a crime. Paranoid, right? Jessica's smile was thin, unyielding. Life surprises us. Why help couples through this? My chest tightened. Divorce lawyer. I pivoted, keeping my tone breezy. Holland, it's just dinner with an old friend. Impulsive of you to assume otherwise. He sipped his drink, slow, deliberate, then locked eyes with me. I'm rational, Chloe. I think Chloe, tell us about Joe. Friend? Friend more. His voice was velvet over steel, daring me to lie. I didn't flinch, smile steady. Alan, please. Joe's a conservatory buddy, a pianist. We met to talk music. Creative types, you know, expressive but innocent. He chuckled, low and dark. Hope his hands stay on the keys, then. I waved it off, glancing at Jessica. Note how he provokes. Sheer innuendo. But Alan's gaze didn't waver, and I felt the ground slipping. My act was fraying, and he knew it. Alan leaned back, pulling out his phone with a casual flick, his smirk tightening. We don't need Joe here, Chloe. I've got his take already. He tapped the screen, and a recording crackled to life. Alan's voice first. That redhead your friend. Joe's laugh rolled out, too easy, too smug. You could say that. What's it to you? Alan played along. Some guys make it look easy. Tips for me. Joe's tone thickened. Some of us just have it, man. Then Alan pushed. Redhead's hottest in bed. True, you get anywhere. Joe didn't pause, his pride spilling over. Oh, they're wild, that one. She does things, bounces like crazy. Might break me if I'm not careful. The words slammed into me, each one a brick smashing my fat hide. Silence followed, then Alan's cool. Wow, lucky you, before it cut off. My cheeks burned. Fingers curling around my glass as Jessica's eyes drilled into me, sharp and steady. Alan watched, amused, waiting. I forced a laugh, voice shaky. He's joking, Alan. Guys brag like that, bonding nonsense. He raised an eyebrow, lips curling. Detailed for a joke. Explain it, Chloe. I straightened, heat flooding my face. Joe's a bragger, loves exaggerating, thought he was funny. Jessica, you can't take that idiot's wild claims seriously, right? Jessica's smile stayed tight. I've seen enough tonight. Eye-opening, thanks to Alan. My gut twisted. Joe's voice looped in my head, raw, damning, stripping my lies bare. I'd built a wall of excuses, but Alan had just blown it wide open, and I was scrambling in the rubble, exposed and sinking fast. Joe burst back into the restaurant, hair mussed, eyes wild, scanning tables like a trapped animal. Chloe, you won't believe it. Some jerk propped the restroom door shut, had me stuck forever. He ranted, oblivious, until he spotted Alan. His squint narrowed. It was you, wasn't it? You nuts? My stomach lurched, I grabbed, voice low, pleading. Joe, meet Alan, my husband. Tell him we're just friends. His face drained white, panic flashing as he pieced it together. Oh crap, he stammered, eyes darting. Phone's ringing. Gotta check that. He yanked free, snatching his coat from his table, and bolted out the door, a blur of cowardice vanishing into the night. I stared after him, shock and fury knotting my chest. Alan chuckled, soft and bitter. Looks like your friend's not so reliable, decent lover. Maybe, but he won't stand by you. Jessica rose, gathering her things, her nod cool, final. My hands shook. Joe's exit left me dangling, alone against Alan's trap. Time to pay up, Chloe, Alan said, standing, his half-smile slicing deeper. Oh, and honey, you're covering dinner with Joe gone. Out of your pocket. My card hit the table, but the waiter frowned. Sorry, ma'am. It's not working. Alan paused on his way out, glancing back. Figured your friend would handle it. Guess not. I hissed. Alan, did you do this? You're leaving me stranded. His shrug was maddening. You're resourceful. Chloe, you'll sort it out. He walked off with Jessica, their steps fading, leaving me humiliated, broke, and seething in the wreckage of my own making. Alan sauntered out with Jessica, her voice drifting back. Papers by morning, as they vanished into the night. I sat there, the restaurant's hum mocking me, the bill glaring from the table. My card failed again. Sweat beaded as the waiter loomed, muttering about dishes or worse. I called Emma, a friend from the conservatory, and she bailed me out, her pity stinging worse than the stares. Hours later, I stormed home, heels pounding the floor, and found Alan tossing a jacket into a suitcase. What the hell was that? I fumed, purse slamming down. A cheap show. Dragging your lawyer? Setting me up. They nearly had me scrubbing toilets? He laughed, a tense, jagged sound that grated my nerves. What's funny? I snapped. He raised a hand, voice steady but laced with edge. What instrument do you play, Chloe? I blinked. Throne. The flute, what's that got to do? He cut me off, smile twisting bitter. Then go play his skin flute. Might suit you better. Leave me alone. My face flamed, fists clenching. Damn you, Alan. Are you serious? Humiliating me with her, now this. You're throwing us away over Joe's nonsense. His eyes darkened, voice dropping. I loved you once, we were great. But this, you writing piano players, yeah, I want a divorce. The words hit like a slap, sharp and final. I grabbed my purse, hurled it at him, screaming. Stop insulting me. I don't deserve this. He dodged, snatched his bag, gave a curt bow, and walked out, the door slamming shut. I stood there, chest heaving, alone with the echo of his exit. I paced the house after Alan left, fury boiling over, the silence amplifying every creak. He'd gone to his brother's. I knew that much. But his stunt gnawed at me, a wound I couldn't staunch. The next morning, the doorbell jolted me. Jessica stood there, crisp suit, stack of papers in hand. Her calm gaze met my glare as she handed them over wordless. I snatched the divorce docs, jaw tight, her cool indifference fueling my fire. She turned away and I slammed the door, resolve hardening. I wasn't losing this. Not to Alan, not like this. By afternoon, I'd hired a lawyer, sharp, expensive, plotting to flip the script. Alan was jealous, paranoid, overreacting to a dinner. I'd spin it that way, bury his recording in doubt. I sat at the kitchen table, papers spread, tracing every move. Joe was a friend, musician, collaborator. Nothing more, I'd swear. Alan's trap was impulsive, his evidence shaky. I'd make him look unhinged. Confidence surge. I'd always been clever, quick to dodge trouble. But a chill crept in. How'd he know about Joe? I'd been careful, rehearsal excuses, burner texts. Nothing slipped, or so I thought. I racked my brain, replaying weeks, but found no cracks. Shaking it off, I leaned into my plan. Alan wanted war. I'd fight dirty, twist this into his failure, not mine. The restaurant, the recording. It'd fade in court, I told myself. I'd outsmart him, walk away clean, keep the life I'd built. Doubt lingered, but I crushed it. Failure wasn't an option, not for me. Days blurred as I prepped with my lawyer, a bulldog named Harris who thrived on messy cases. We sat in his cluttered office, crafting a defense to gut Alan's ambush. He's a jealous husband. I insisted, voice firm. Caught me at dinner, spun it into madness. Joe's just a friend. Harris nodded, scribbling notes. We'll paint him unstable. Recordings intrusive, unethical. Juries hate that. I handed over my story, conservatory chats with Joe, music talk, nothing intimate. The texts casual, the restroom brag, locker room nonsense, not proof. Alan's move reeked of desperation. We'd use it to flip the blame. I paced my living room nights after, rehearsing lines, perfecting the act. Alan's calm at the restaurant haunted me. Too calculated, too sure. How'd he know? I'd covered tracks, burner phone, vague plans. But his precision gnawed at me. Had he followed me? Hacked me? I checked my accounts, calls, nothing odd. Maybe luck, I reasoned, or Joe's big mouth somewhere else. It didn't matter. Harris said we'd bury it in court, make Alan the fool. I clung to that, my edge sharpening. I'd always outmaneuvered trouble. School scandals, gig rivalries. This was bigger, but I'd win. The house felt emptier. Alan's absence a ghost, but I channeled it into fight. Divorce papers sat mocked on the counter. I'd turn them into his regret. Confidence steadied me. Alan's trap was a bluff, and I'd call it, walk away with everything. Trial day dawned crisp, and I strode into court. Cool and collected, Harris at my side. We'd hunned our angle at Alan, the paranoid spouse, overacting to a dinner. I sat at the defendant's table, chin up, ready to dismantle his case. Alan's lawyer, Jessica, stepped up, her poise unshaken, and my gut tightened. She had something. She slid out screenshots. My texts with Joe flirty, damning. Miss your hands. Last night was fire. I face burned. I hissed to Harris. He hacked my phone. Illegal. He scribbled, but Jessica wasn't done. She called a witness. Our neighbor, a gray-haired retiree. Saw Joe at her place, night Alan worked late, he said, voice steady. My lawyer jumped, hearsay. But the judge let it stand. The room spun texts. A witness. My friend, story shredded, Harris fought. Discrediting the neighbor's eyesight. Arguing privacy violations. But Alan's case stood like stone. Joe's recording played again. His crude laugh filling the silence. Jurors' eyes narrowing at me. I'd banked on charm, on spinning doubt, but evidence crushed it. Raw, undeniable. Alan sat across, face blank, watching me unravel. My confidence bled out, replaced by dread. I'd underestimated him, his quiet rage his proof. The verdict landed fast, Alan won. Clean, my lies exposed to a room of strangers. I'd played a game I couldn't rig, and now the board was flipped. My cleverness, my fight all dust. He'd beaten me at my own game, and I had nothing left to throw. I caught Alan in the courthouse hall, steps echoing as I blocked his path, voice softer than it'd been in weeks. Alan, please. Can we talk? Maybe we don't have to end like this. I screwed up, but we were special. Can't we try? My hands trembled, a last grasp at something slipping away. He stopped, eyes cold, untouched by my plea. Chloe, you didn't just screw up. You lied, even now, twisting it. He shook his head, voice low, final. I loved you, but betrayal. I can't forgive that. My chest caved, his words a door slamming shut. He turned, walked off, his back a wall I couldn't breach, leaving me rooted, staring at the void he'd left. The hallway buzzed. Lawyers, clerks. But I stood alone, the weight of my choices crushing me. I gambled on Joe, on secrets, thinking I'd glide through unscathed. Alan's trap. The recording, the texts, the witness, hadn't just exposed me, it stripped me bare, left me with nothing but regret. I'd seen him as steady, predictable, but he'd outplayed me, his quiet fury sharper than my schemes. The house waited, empty now, a shell of what we'd built. Laughter, late nights, gone. I'd chased a thrill, lost a life, and his last look burned in men, no anger, just done. I'd fought to win, but he'd won by walking away, and I'd live with the fallout. Alone, the clever girl who'd finally lost. If you dance with lies, don't cry when they trip you up. Alan didn't just catch me, he crushed me, and I learned the brutal way: own your truth or it'll own you. I thought I could flirt with danger, spin excuses, keep my world intact, but one night, one recording, and it all collapsed. You can't outrun betrayal's cost. It'll find you, strip you down, leave you scrambling in the dirt. I lost a marriage, a man who loved me, because I chased a cheap rush over what mattered. Step up, face your mess, or watch it bury you like it did me. I'm still clawing out, wiser, scarred. Your choices don't bend, they break you or build you. Pick wisely. This hit hard, and I'd love to hear your take. What would you do caught in a lie like that? Drop it below, share this with someone who needs the wake up, or stick around for more. Hit that like, pass it on. Maybe join the ride if you're hooked. Let's keep peeling back these raw edges together, one story at a time.